Okay. I was wearing a shirt that completely blended in with the background, so that was not a good thing. Okay, so this is unit, it just changed, 3.9. And we're going to be talking about roommates and pets. We've already talked about what your residence is, right? So we've talked about, do you live in a dorm, house, apartment? So we've talked about those kind of situations. Now we're going to talk about who we live with. Because, of course, it's one of the first things we talk about when we meet someone new, and we run dry on, what's your major, right? So pets are always a good, safe thing to talk about, too, because everybody's interested in pets. So the goal of the chapter is this conversation. We start out with, do you live alone? Because it's a little easier to ask than, do you live with other people? So this first question that we're going to worry about is really pretty simple. I think if you look at it, there's like one sign alone that you probably don't know yet, and that we can work on that. So here, we know you. Then live is, if I think we've already touched on this before, but it's two A's, and you can either tap or you can slide it up. And you'll notice as watching videos that people will do sort of a shorthand, almost a contraction, where the full sign is this, do, and people go, boop. That's how conversation and how language changes, that things get more efficient. So I'm going to show you the full sign, boom, 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 live or live. If you remember too, we mentioned a noun is usually signed with two taps. So another sort of similar meaning to live, where you live is your address. All right, so you live, and then alone is just a one circled. So here's a person alone, no one around them. It's similar to a sign always, which we won't worry about right now, but just it's a tight little circle. Have. Pooh. So we've done this before too. It's the start of the sign tired, right? I have tired. Have. I possess. Pet. And imagine you're holding a pet and you are Dr. Evil and you're petting your cat, right? I am Ernst Blofeld with my cat for the James Bond fans. So pet. It's also a sign for like spoiled. If you're talking about someone. So it's a nice, it's a way of calling someone a pet, that they're given everything, right? So once again, we're asking a question, yes or no question. You live alone. You have pet. And then yes or no. Remember to nod and shake your head appropriately. Have. You can say me, have, or oh yeah, I have, because we know you're talking about yourself. So the me, it can be assumed. It doesn't have to be in there. And notice I use contrastive structure. Have. And we'll talk about animals signs in just a second. Or no, none, I don't have any. Now, I've added here, in the past, I had, or I have had. We don't have tenses, as you're starting to notice. And I did that because the book talks about it a little bit if you look in the chapter. It gets really boring if people are giving one-syllable answers. Yes. Do you have pets? Yes. Do you live alone? Yes. Or no. We've all been in conversations with people like that, right? Where you feel like, you really don't want to be talking to me. Okay, that's fine. So I'm not trying to encourage you to have long, in-depth conversations with people who creep you out or who are inappropriate or anything like that. But I'm trying to prepare you for the fact of you're talking to someone that you want to talk to and you're like, terrified. No, I don't live alone. No. Do you have any pets? Yes. Shaking like a leaf, right? So the more used to signing with in a comfortable situation, the easier you'll be out in the wild when you meet deaf people. So start thinking of extended answers for questions that you get asked. There's a bunch of vocab. Um, if this is too small, let me know. I can do 3 columns. We will go over. I'm not going to go over all of them right now. I'll go through it. I'm as I always do. I include the slideshow of other vocab. We're going to be talking about yes/no questions again and contrastive structure. We're using all of them. The nice thing about language is everything's cumulative. It's never like with some math classes, history classes, where, oh, we're done with that. We never have to look at that again. Everything builds on what we've already had. So we've talked about small, medium, and large, how in ASL there are basically 3 sizes. There's the sort of pursed lips, or like an ooh, which is coffee. Like, why bother having a small coffee? What's the point? There's the medium size. It's kind of like medium size, or so half. And then the last was cha, big. Oh, my belly is becoming big. Cha. That coffee. Okay. So we're adding mouth movements now to facial expressions. So if you're describing something, so your mouse face, cha, lion face. A friend of mine is a vocal coach in Los Angeles, and when he coaches people for voiceover stuff, he talks about opening the face lion and going for the mouse. I mean, he doesn't talk about the De Niro face for the medium size thing, and I got to work on that with him. So, medium size, just about right. It's the 3 Bears approach to sign language. Then, one other thing we're going to talk, especially with pets, not so much roommates, is describing on yourself. We're talking about the colorings on my cat. Grayson, Grayson. He is gray all over, has white here, here, and here, and his belly. So what I'm doing is I'm using myself to show where the markings are. So that will help if you're describing your cat, because we can't just use like lines. On his arm has white. Where? Much easier if you go. Okay. And then orientation and signing space. We've already pointed, we've done contrastive structure, but now we're going to be talking about, I'm talking about this person. A lot of my signs are going to be facing that person. So we all know, I'm still talking about him. And then over to this side, here. Like his name is Grayson. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Or, why did they choose his name? Mario Lopez. Is he still relevant? Okay, whatever. Lives alone, right? And I don't know if he does or not. If you know, I don't care. So, they're proudly, I think, keeping this pretty neutral. Giving a couple different varieties. You can apply whatever you want. Mother and father with daughter. So you could have family. Mom, dad. Daughter and son they're kind of a sign that's evolved a little bit. It's boy, baby, girl, baby. So daughter, son. Yeah. Son, daughter. Look at myself. There was a little delay. Daughter, son. Now, I don't know about you. I'm assuming that it's been probably since you were maybe 13, 14, 15, where you finally went, okay, mom, I am not your baby. I am not your little girl. I'm an adult now, right? So there's a lot of times in teenage years that people are like, stop saying baby. I'm not your baby. The sign, we drop the hand, we drop the cradle, and just do daughter or son. Okay. So, and you can do that. It's also the one-handed sign if I'm carrying something, daughter, son. Okay. So, husband and wife, husband, this is like wedded, married, husband, wife. We don't have to do the girl marry, boy marry. It almost starts with father and mother. Husband tends to be index finger. Husband, wife. Um, and this is the generic sign for children. Not talking about sons or daughters. Just pat them on the head. Boyfriend, girlfriend, sweethearts. Two people coming together over the heart. Oh, that's not really the sign for heart. So, um, this is good. There can be dating, sweetheart, live with. Now, the sign for with, we're going to amend it a little bit to show roommate. We did a sign similar to this, which was machine, right? So, pop machine. Roommate puts two things that are dissimilar together, right? If you've had a roommate, you've had to jam your lives together. And that seam is not always the cleanest. Right? Sometimes it's pretty messy. But roommate. Okay. So sweetheart, roommate. There are other signs you could do. Partner. This originally came from like a business idea of, oh, we work together, partners. But also has been applied to relationships. Oh, partner, kind of paralleling English. But sweetheart applies to any romantic relationship. Married, husband and wife. We haven't gone into a lot of family members yet. We will. Aunt, uncle, things like that. I might as well do it now. Aunt is an A circling at just where the mustache meets inside, which you can't really tell. It never has grown in. Maybe puberty will hit someday. So breakfast, beer, aunt, uncle, with a U up by the temple, a little circle. Aunt and uncle. Okay. Grandmother. Well, let me go back. Grandmother. It's one pop out. The reason why it's because it's mother's mother, where it comes from. So grandmother, grandfather. If you do it twice, boom, boom, it means great grandmother, great grandmother, great grandfather. We rarely use that, but grandma, grandpa. Mom moves into and touches the face. It doesn't bounce off. Mom. No, all of a sudden it becomes grandma. So mom, grandma. Dad, grandpa. Deer, moose. Okay. Moose and squirrel. No one remembers that cartoon. So I'll shut up. Okay, so some different kinds of roommates. And there's video in here that we can look at that shows more. I do need to put a couple more videos in this slideshow, but I wanted to get the recording of the lecture. Cat. Do it with open hands. Don't do it like this, because this is more of a melodrama, evil person twisting your mustache. Do it open so we see those whiskers. Cat. Dog. Just snap your fingers. It's actually finger spelled, D-O-G. An older sign, dog. And some people still do dog. But that tends to be older and a little bit more awkward. This is really what people use. Oh, have a dog. One dog. Dog, 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 dog. Bird, just a generic. It's 20 up in the mouth for the beak. Parrot is actually curved, right? Because it looks like a parrot's beak. Parrot. Fish. Fish. Now, these are categories of animals, right? There are specifics. Some animals have specific signs, some do not. A lot of it depends on whether the animals were talked about a lot. For example, ASL doesn't have a sign for kangaroo. There are some signs that are used, but it's not one that sort of naturally developed because we don't have kangaroos here. Australian Sign Language has signs for them. I don't know what it is, but you'll notice that there are more signs for indigenous North American animals and not so many for animals from around the world. Panda was a pretty recent now I'm trying to remember. I only just recently saw a panda. So that's something for you to look up. Look up any animals you want. If you look at on YouTube, you can find a lot. So fish, sometimes you'll see it without this other hand. Most of the time you'll see it with either the index finger or the other hand touching. Fish. Turtle, I think we've seen the sign for hide or secret. So turtle, here's the shell, and here's the head that sticks out. Turtle. Sometimes you'll see this for like sea tortoise. I haven't seen that much as an ASL sign. I saw it more for like hearing people showing what they look like. But it's been adopted a little bit. It's a little bit more awkward to sign than this. Rat is with an R, and mouse is with the index finger. So just brush your nose. Rat, mouse. Rabbit has two signs. There's bunny, tends to be, and they're interchangeable, but in my mind, I remember that this is for a tiny little one that you can hold, right? And rabbit. Comes up, ears go backwards, which is similar to horse. Horse is to the front, rabbit is to the back. Horse, rabbit. If you remember deer, big animal, right? Deer and moose. So horse is like them. Donkey, one ear. If you've ever seen donkeys or been around them much, it tends to be they have ears that go up in the air and one flops down. So donkey. It's also the sign for stubborn, which is not the vocab list. A bunch of these animal ones aren't. This is a time when we normally churn through. Normally I'd go around the room and ask people what signs they want to learn. So now we can ask, how many pets? How many? How many, right? So we tend to put the question, WH questions or HW questions, end of the sentence. Small, medium, or large? What size is the pet? Big, small, which? We don't usually ask, is it medium-sized? Only in the kitten mittens commercial. Color and markings. What color? Cat, what color? Look like. Look, so draw the face. Look like what? And then name. Cat name what? Now, here are some examples. We've got conversation 3, where they're going to describe the animals and roommates. And here's an example of the spatial agreement. Again, I'm not going to play the video because it will get all wonky. 2 different examples of setting up in space and indicating where you're talking. The video is very clear. I don't need to go over it myself. I started including, now that we're getting into more complex discussions, the gloss, and that's what we call the written signs. It's just sign order to give you a hint as to what you should be signing. It's not the written form of ASL. So, you live alone. You? Yes, I live alone. Yes. Okay. So we can watch, and these diagrams show where in their signing space they're setting up these people they're talking. Ooh, sorry, hiccups. Talking about. Um, and if it says A and B, it's usually because I had to break it up into 2 or 3 slides. That shows where they set them up in their signing space. Now, how to describe your pet. There's a couple of things to keep in mind as you're doing this. Sorry, I like indents. So we're going to give this an indent. Boosh, boosh. That's better. Okay. So different things to keep in mind as you're describing your pet. For a large animal, so height of, kind of like you're talking about a little kid, right? From the floor. Smaller animals, birds, right? Right, so owl, owl. So for large animals, from the floor, how big? Um, if it's a small animal, even a small dog, like a horse, you wouldn't want to say, "Oh, he's this big," no, right? Because they measure by hands. Smaller animals, show it in front of you, and then if it's a bird, chicken. Chicken is also using the generic sign for bird. Bird. Guess I can tip that up a little bit more. And then describing what's the main color, first of all, and then any kind of individual markings. And then, like, just draw it on your body, wherever it is. Give the color and then draw. Um, so here's what I was talking about of providing more information, especially yes/no questions. Um, give a little bit more. Get used to not just saying a one-word answer. Around right now is when I would be telling you in class, don't just tell me you're tired. Don't just tell me you're mad or sad or whatever. I want more. Give me more information. I don't want monosyllabic answers. I want meat because it's the only way you're going to get used to using this language. And right now you're going, I don't know enough, but you know enough signs that you can start to add. And again, I don't care if you're telling me the truth. Just sign something. If we're having conversation on Zoom and I ask you, who do you live with? Make up a story. I don't care. If you're like, I live alone or have one roommate, have 4 cats. I don't, even if you say, oh, I'm going to lie. That's fine. Lie. Just take this and like slice your chin. Same applies to all questions, really. Like, how are you? Oh, I'm tired. Not sleep last night. Any of the signs you know, start playing with them and start giving more than just a single sign answer. Because ultimately, if you're having a conversation with someone and you give a single word answer, they're going to follow up with a question. So anticipate the next question. Someone asks you what you did. You say, I saw a movie. Tell them how you liked the movie. Don't just go, I saw a movie. Ask me a question. So I want you to practice thinking about 2 of your friends. We've already, hopefully by now, you've already thought about how would you answer these questions yourself. If someone asked you, do you live alone? Do you have a roommate? What's your situation? What's your situation? Do you have any pets? Those kind of things. Hopefully you've already thought about how you would answer yourself. Always good to prep those questions yourself because you're going to have to answer them when you get out in conversation. Now, think about how 2 friends of yours or family members would answer that question. It's pretty obvious if it's a roommate, but maybe think about next year's roommate or a friend from high school or something. How would they answer these questions? Because the next part is a homework on GoReact where I'm going to want you to talk about 2 different people. Okay. So you're going to say, this person, their name is what? This person, their name is what? Or this person, their name is this. They live in an apartment with a roommate and have 2 fish. Okay. So I want you on the Go React, you're going to answer that homework. There's going to be one homework where you answer for yourself and another homework where you talk about two people. Okay. And I want to set it up on Go React where you watch people from class and jot down their information and then talk about them, name them, and point to them. Okay. So the same video you record first, which will be you talking about yourself, then other people will watch those videos, pick out two. And of course, the first two people who do it are going to be the first two that everybody picks. So try to get a little variety because I'll drink far too much if I have to watch the same description of one person 24 times. Okay. So if I ever get to the point where I'm like, okay, done, I'm going to put a post here. Okay, everybody stop describing this person. So now there are mini dialogues. And again, I put the glosses in so you can take a look at just practice conversations. Now here are the questions about those. So I want you to watch the video and then answer the questions. And I included the answers with them. So don't just jump ahead to the answers. You know, that does you no good. I know it makes you feel cool because I know all the answers. But if you can't actually see it in the video, then it's of no use whatsoever. So I included the glosses so that you can, after you've answered the questions, go back and look. And this one, that's weird. Okay, I need to fix that slide. All right, so here's the homework. Homework part 1, you are going to record a simple video expressing information about your living arrangement and pets. Part 2 is you're going to watch the videos from other classmates and talk about them. Right. I tried to see if there was a way that I could group you in groups of 3. There isn't. So take a look at Go React. I may just assign you and force you to watch 2 people's and respond. I hate doing that though, because if someone doesn't submit it, then you're stuck. But keep an eye out on that. I want to do it so I get some variety. Just read the Go React instructions carefully, and it will tell you exactly what to do. And so this is the vocab from 309, and then all videos. So that's 309. It's actually a really easy chapter, and it's fun, especially if you like talking about pets. Cool.